Hey, what's going on guys? It's FPL Yusuf and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be going over my game week 9 transfer targets where I show you guys some of the transfers that I'm looking to make this coming week, but also some of the transfers that I'm looking to make with a little bit of a longer view in mind. I'll go over how my team got on in this previous game week 8, and a whole lot more. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, welcome back guys. Thank you so much for joining me here today for another video on my YouTube channel. Before we get into this one, if you wouldn't mind dropping a thumbs up and subscribing down below, it'd be greatly appreciated. So game week 8 has nearly finished. At the time of recording, it's currently Monday afternoon with one more game to go. We've got Nottingham Forest versus Crystal Palace this evening. I haven't got any more players left in my team, so I am currently on 38 points all out. It will go up to 39 with obviously Bukayo Saka coming out and Mazraoui coming in. But all in all, it's probably going to be, around a rank hold, maybe a small red arrow, maybe a small green arrow, depending on what happens tonight. We're currently on a green arrow. We're up to about 769,000, I think, in the world. So not too bad, not the best, not the worst. Would have been better had I not made any transfers last week, but I'm going to get onto that in a little while. Obviously, as you can see from my team, a lot of blanks this week, unfortunately. A lot of ones, a lot of twos. The game week being saved by Danny Welbeck, who just has been Mr. Consistent for me, but also Michael Keane coming in with a massive 14-point haul, which has genuinely saved my game week from being disastrous. So yeah, it's been a weird one. I had Salah in last week, took him out for Saka. Rule number one, cardinal sin number one, don't make transfers before the international break's over. I mean, to be fair, we didn't hear any news on Bukayo Saka, so I probably would have made that transfer anyway because I needed to drop Salah down to free up the money. But obviously, in hindsight, it would have been better just to wait a week and have 2 free transfers for next week to do that. You live and you learn. It's part of the game. Those things are going to happen. Salah's never going to blank forever. There's going to be a week that he returns. It just so happens it was the week that I took him out for Saka, who actually didn't even play. He wasn't in the squad. Now we're just hoping that Bukayo Saka's injury isn't going to be as bad as what we're led to believe. Hopefully, fingers crossed, he will be back on this coming weekend. Obviously, Arsenal do have a Champions League game midweek, so we will hear a press conference from Arteta and just to see if he's back in the squad. But yeah, overall, it will be 39 points all out. Like I said, the arrow will probably be either a small green, a small red, or just round about the same. So nothing too crazy this week, but we are now going to take a look into my transfer targets for next week and also with a bit of a longer view down the line. Okay, my first transfer up this week. I have one free transfer in and it will be used on Luis DIAZ. I've had enough of this guy. He has been maybe arguably the worst transfer I have made in a few seasons. I bought him in on wildcard. Since then, he's had, blanks and 2 benchings. It's just time for him to go. I don't, even if Jota's out injured and, they play Gakpo through the middle and DIAZ starts next week on the left-hand side, I don't want him at all. I've had enough of him. That ship sailed. So, yeah, he's 100% going to be leaving my team this week. The question is, who do we take him out for? So, I think there are 2 real main targets that I'm looking to bring in this week. One is Heung-min Son, and the other one is Cole Palmer. Now, on paper, Son has got the better fixture. Crystal Palace away, whereas Palmer has got Newcastle at home. I do think there could be joy for both of them in this. In an ideal world, you'd want to have both of them, but with Haaland being that main focal point up front and taking a lot of the budget, and we are going to come on to him a bit later, but with him being in the team, it only kind of allows you the option to make one or the other. So I think the decision this week will be made based upon, do we want to go for a short-term return or a longer-term goal? Now, if we're going to go for the short term, I think Son is the right answer. Over the next sort of 3 or 4 game weeks, Spurs have got the better fixtures over Chelsea. Son's a little bit cheaper as well, for those of you who are playing with budget in mind. So there's that as well. He's probably on penalties. Just when he starts, the way Spurs are playing at the moment, I think him and Brennan Johnson could actually start racking up some points. Solanke's dropping a little bit deeper, which is allowing them to move in behind. Whereas Cole Palmer, on the other hand, is kind of the focal point of Chelsea. We know he's on penalties. We know he's on free kicks. He's pretty much on all set pieces. As I said, a little bit more expensive, this Heung-min Son. Has maybe the worst fixture this week. I mean, Newcastle, when they go away from home, aren't the greatest defensively. So I do think there could be joy there for Cole Palmer as well. However, it's the fixtures that come after that for him, which is kind of what worries me. Manchester United, not a great fixture in terms of good or bad. It's kind of just somewhere in the middle. I could see him getting joy against them, but it is that game week 11 fixture where he does take on Arsenal, which kind of worries me a little bit. Whereas Son and Spurs are kind of good up until game week 12, and then they play. I believe it's Liverpool in game week 13 or Man City in game week 13. So yeah, I think this decision here on DIAZ will kind of be based off whether we want to go for a short term, but knowing that we're going to transfer somebody out in a couple of weeks, or do we go for a longer term, just bring Palmer in now and we save that transfer down the line. I'm going to put on screen now kind of like a little bit of a watch list around players who I'm looking to bring in longer term. We're going to start off first with the Wolves strikers. I put Strand Larsen and Cunha in here. From about game week 10, Wolves go on a really fantastic run of fixtures. Now there's a reason why I put strikers up here first, and that is because there's been a lot of talk around Erling Haaland, and is it a viable option to get rid of him? Now, I think for me personally, I think what this season has shown me is that no player is essential. And if, for argument's sake, you've gone for a Salah only draft, the last few weeks, well, if you've gone for Salah only, then you've probably got either Palmer or Son in there. You've probably got Watkins up front. So the last few weeks, you've been good, because most people would have captained Haaland over the last few weeks, and obviously he's blanked 3 times in a row. Now, the caveat to that is Haaland is not going to blank forever. He's going to score, and he's going to score big. And I think one of those weeks could be this coming week against Southampton, obviously playing them at the Etihad. Man City haven't looked really that good creatively. I do wonder if it's because De Bruyne is not in that side or not. But I think there's definitely a viable option, definitely a question to be asked about Haaland. I just think if you are going to do it, I think now is maybe not that time. I think City have a little bit of more of a tricky run from around game week 12 where you could conceivably get rid of him. The obvious question is who do you replace him for? Now, like I was just saying, and I touched on earlier, the Wolves strikers for me are someone who both of them are actually quite interesting to me. From game week 10, Wolves go on a really good run. Both of them are getting minutes. Both of them are starting. I think the real question is, which one do you go for? So obviously Strand Larsen is $1 million cheaper than Cunha. Cunha is probably a little bit more nailed, I would say. I know he got pulled off after the sort of 65th, 66th minute this week, but I think that was more of a tactical thing more than anything else. He is probably on penalties for Wolves. It's a real tough one between them. I think it depends on what you can do with the extra budget. If you're bringing one of these guys in for Haaland, then obviously the budget isn't going to really matter to you because you're going to free up so much money one way or the other. However, if you're looking to move a cheap striker out, a Calvert-Lewin, a Chris Wood, you're looking to get off of them to bring in one of these guys, then I think it becomes more of a question. Obviously, one of them's going to save you money. One of them you probably have to pay a little bit more to get. I think it was almost I'd say a 60-40 split in terms of Cunha, just though, because Strand Larsen has been playing well, and he is definitely a differential as well. So yeah, these are two players that I'm looking at definitely for the long term. Like I said, from game week 10, game week 11 is kind of when I'd be looking to bring these two in particular. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is what to do with the Arsenal defence. Now, bringing them in on wildcard, I do think it was about having patience with them. Now, I think a lot of us probably would have expected them to at least get one clean sheet over these last 3 games. They haven't. Arsenal haven't been playing that well. They haven't really been defending that great, or at least to what the standard that we're expected of them. They have been a little bit iffy. And I am, even as an Arsenal fan myself, I am a little bit worried, especially because Saliba is suspended for this Liverpool game. Not that it really makes a difference, because if you'd gone double Arsenal defence, you would have known that this game was happening anyway. It's more about, is there a way in which you could utilise the money elsewhere? Now, I think, obviously, I own both Gabriel and Raya. So I think for me, if I was going to get rid of one, I'd probably lean more towards Gabriel, because I think Raya is just, consistent set and forgetting goal. Whereas I think with Gabriel, you could downgrade him to a Konate in a few weeks when Liverpool's fixtures maybe start to swing. You could look to bring in, Gvardiol. He's obviously just bagged a return, but again, are City really keeping clean sheets? Not particularly. So there are options out there that you could move to. However, I just think in the case of Arsenal defences that you just kind of hold them, because it's one less headache you have to worry about. You're going to start them because there's always a good chance of them keeping a clean sheet, despite them not having kept one over the last sort of 3 or 4 game weeks. I do think that there are clean sheets coming, and Arsenal will only improve and get better. So for me personally, I think right now I would say hold. Obviously, if you are looking to bring in maybe a Kai Havertz up front and you need to free up an Arsenal spot, then okay, maybe you look elsewhere. But I think for the time being, I would say just hold. The Liverpool game, like I said, is kind of an anomaly. It's what Arsenal do after this game, I think, which is going to kind of define whether or not you want to keep 1 or 2 in defence. And finally, the last player I want to talk about is Johan Wissa. Now, he came back against Man United, got 25 minutes a lot earlier than expected. I think a lot of us thought he'd be out till around Christmas, but he's actually come back a lot sooner. Now, this touches on, the argument around having, one of the cheap strikers. I actually think Johan Wissa, we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago about Mbeumo, that he's a hold up until sort of game week 15, 16, 17, that you could genuinely and feasibly just leave him in there. And I think this is the same thing too. Now, the big question is, should you double up on Brentford? And I don't think it's as easy as just looking at it like that. I think both of them offer you different things, but both of them are competing against different players. Right now, Mbeumo is probably one of the best assets in FPL because of the way he's priced. He's on penalties. He's pretty much guaranteed 90 minutes. and the players around him aren't really scoring points. And it's the same thing for Vissa. If you had, like I've got a Dominic Calvert-Lewin who's blanked in the last sort of 3 or 4 games. You've got someone like Chris Wood who maybe you kind of want to move off of because Forest's fixtures are going to start to swing. You're looking for that Haaland replacement if you're going to downgrade him. I think that Vissa could be a really good pick. I think it's worth waiting one more week. Just to see if he starts or if he comes off the bench again to build up his minutes. Obviously, he's been out for a few weeks now, but he's someone that I really like and somebody that I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on for future game weeks. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below. I will be back on Wednesday midweek with an FPL challenge video. I'm going to be showing you guys how I got in the previous week. Also, we'll look ahead to game week 9 as well. And then I'll be back probably around Thursday or Friday towards the back end of the week with a final team selection video ahead of game week 9. This week in particular, if you've had a bad week, don't feel too bad about it. It's been a rough week, I think, for a lot of people. I think going forward, we're coming up to game week 12, which is around where you'll see a lot of fixture swings for different teams. Some of the teams who are low down the table will start to get good fixtures, which means cheaper assets will be available. Some of the bigger boys are going to start switching, which means you may have to jump on and off different premiums. So yeah, there's still a long way to go. So like I said, if you have had a bad game week this week, don't beat yourself too much up about it. Same for if you're looking at your rank and it's not where you want it to be. It's fine. There's still a long way to go in this season. So yeah, just keep positive, keep going, and just keep trying to make the decisions which are best for you. Remember that is the key to it. Is just trying to make decisions which are best for you, because no one's going to know your team better than you. So remember that the players that you're bringing in, you are bringing them in for a reason. The same way you're getting rid of certain players, it's always for a reason. So don't forget that. Just keep at it, keep grinding, and I'm sure in a couple of weeks' time, you'll see it swing. That's the thing with FPL; it can change so quickly. You could drop sort of rank for 2-3 game weeks in a row, and all it takes is for another 2 or 3 good game weeks and you're flying straight back up. So yeah, like I said, if you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below, and I'll catch you guys next time.